He had several ulcers in his stomach, several ulcers in his colon. And we thought, mac and cheese and milkshake. And this was Cedar Sinai.
Hey guys, so got a pretty cool clip here today. It's Courtney Love. This one's from May of 2023, and she is talking about Kurt Cobain's final days. And there's just a couple of things that she does go into some pretty good detail on, stuff that I've never heard her talk about before, stuff she doesn't talk about all the time. So for those reasons, it makes it an interesting listen. So let's check it out.
So who was around Kurt at the end? Pat, won't speak on it. Eric, Roddy Bottom, and Arnie Cowley. Those were the four people around. Patty Schemmel. Patty Schemmel was around a lot. Patty Schemmel. These were the characters. I was exhausted. Callie, Patty Schemmel, Bill Hopper was somewhere right in the back. She was like 16. Yeah. But mainly Pat, Eric Erlandson, Pat Smear, and Roddy Bottom.
Roddy Bottom, incidentally, is from the band Faith No More. Courtney herself had a very short stint with the band in the early 1980s when she sung for them, and her and Roddy Bottom were boyfriend and girlfriend at one time. And that is someone that you don't hear who was around at the end of Kurt's life. Knew about Eric Erlandson, Patty Schemmel, Pat Smear, Jessica Hopper. Can't say I'd really heard Roddy Bottom's name mentioned, but he must have been there too. Courtney continued, Pat has never spoken on it. I asked him once, what the happened? Smear's response was, I just got tired. I was up 72 hours watching him. We were doing 72-hour shifts. Michael Stipe tried to send a car. There was a really bad intervention. That's on me. I've got to live with that every day. I did that. That sucks. Interventions are so stupid. Courtney, of course, talking about the intervention that was done at the Cobain house in Seattle, Washington. Several of Kurt's friends and bandmates came over, all trying to help him to get him clean, and this is where Kurt was taken to the Exodus Rehab Center in LA. Courtney continues.
But I participated in an intervention, in creating an intervention. And that was then they separated us. And then I was in a facility called Ross, somewhere in the Bay Area.
Courtney continues talking about Kurt's stint in rehab and how he escaped over the wall and how Kurt would meet up with Duff from Guns N' Roses on the plane ride back to Seattle.
There's 5 lost days, and I'm freaking out, and I'm telling I think he's in town. So he's Gibby Haynes is in Exodus with him, and Gibby says that he set hop the fence. I called Exodus, and they said he was getting a lung X-ray. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not true. And then I just start straight panicking. He's called CLS. He's called a car. I guess McKagan was on the airplane home with him. They were sitting together. So that happened, and then he vanishes.
I tried calling Kurt every 20 minutes. I was under a fake name because I'm being just assaulted by the world. At this moment, everybody needs to know where Kurt is, but nobody does. Courtney then explains how Kurt actually called her at the hotel she was at, but the hotel would not put that call through.
And he tried to call me. And they would not put the call through. And I cannot forgive that hotel for that. That is such a colossal fuck up. But you know what? Yeah, man. I just won't go there. Don't go to the Peninsula Hotel. Do not. I can't forgive them for that. But it's not a thing that, I don't know. Do we live there? Do we dwell here? Taking your life like that is such a massive, thing. And it's, man, it has something else to do with oneness and that we're all interconnected and love and forgiveness. And again, the hero died and the fool survived. And here I am.
So before we go any further, I want to say you can check out the full podcast with Courtney Love on 60 songs that explain the 90s. I'll leave a link below to the full podcast. So people always say they want to hear Courtney Love telling her side of what happened in those final days. And she did touch on a bit of it during that clip. Again, we all know the conspiracy theories floating around, not going into any of that, as I say on my previous videos. Interesting how she talked about you had Pat Smear and Patty Schimmel, amongst others, around Kurt at the end. They were taking shifts, trying to watch him, but how it all just became too much. She talked about the intervention, have heard her talk about that before, and how she puts all the blame on herself for that. Saying how Kurt tried to call her right at the end, but where she was staying they wouldn't put the call through, stuff like that. So interesting stuff hearing Courtney Love talk about that in her own words. So thanks heaps for checking out the video. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll catch you on the next one.